Today's question for the Lorie Burch mailbag comes from Beverly in Ennis, Texas, and Beverly writes, "Dear Lorie, with Valentine's Day approaching, I have been thinking quite a bit about my husband and just how lucky I am to have met that special someone." Good for you, Beverly. "We keep putting off having our wills created, and I'm curious as to what happens to our belongings, house, and finances and debts if we don't have a will." Well, Beverly, you are quite the little romantic thinking about your estate planning with Valentine's Day rapidly approaching. And honestly, I really can't think of anything more romantic than protecting your family and loved ones. Now, many people have heard me say the expression, if you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you. But I don't always really explain specifically what that means. And what that means is without a will, there are many things that happen, and basically they are all outside of your control. For example, a court is going to have to appoint an executor or administrator. A court will decide who is the guardian of your kids. In the meantime, they're wards of the state. A judge is going to decide how money gets distributed according to the default laws. I've talked in previous hot topic videos about what happens when there's children from outside the marriage, how that will get distributed to them rather than someone's current spouse. Basically, it's all outside your control. And for parents especially, it's important because kids that are underage are not going to have any money distributed to them or within a protected trust. What happens in many cases is money will go into the court registry and is handed to a kid directly at age 18. In addition to that, even if all the stars align and everything gets to the right person and all the right people are put in place, the process is so much more expensive to get there than just taking some time out now to get a very simple and straightforward estate plan, will, what have you, powers of attorney in place. So it really doesn't make any sense for people to put that off. And beyond that, there's other advice that you get outside of the will when you meet with a professional. And I dealt recently with an instance of a very young girl. She was in her early 20s, and she really didn't necessarily need a will, but she did need the advice because all she had was just a bank account. She didn't have a car, she wasn't married, she didn't have kids, and she passed away suddenly from a bizarre lung disease, and her parents came to me and the bank was holding that money hostage basically. And I'll never forget the mom saying to me that, "Lorie, I can't go through this prolonged probate process because every time I have to retell the story, I'm reliving the event." Now, luckily, I was able to contact somebody within that bank and help that family. But there were very simple things that they could have done to that bank account and set it up in a certain way so that family would have never had to experience it. So it's never too early, you're never too young to at least get some advice as far as what you can do to make that process easier as far as how things are going to be distributed. Now, many people remember the case of Terry Schiavo in Florida a few years back. Now, we talk about what happens without a will, but she's a great example of what happens without a living will, without a medical power of attorney, even without a document that designates funeral and burial decisions. If you remember, she was married, and a lot of married couples take for granted not having this planning in place because they assume that they'll automatically get to make those decisions. But in her case, she was married, and in her early 20s, she suffered a stroke and was put in that condition, and it's just that her parents didn't agree with her husband's decisions. And here we go, the whole world had to know about her because she didn't have some very simple documentation put in place. So those are some of the ramifications of not having a will, not having powers of attorney, just basically not having a plan. As far as debts, I get asked that quite a bit. And your estate is what is liable for your debts. So anybody you put in place, your family, your executors, what have you, they don't actually have to pay your debts. It should come from your estate. And if there's not enough money to pay those debts, then hey, those creditors don't get paid. Now, one disadvantage is if you have jointly held accounts or jointly owned money, then sometimes those debts and creditors can get locked up with your own assets. So again, very important to get the advice. So Beverly, if you've really found that special someone, then I encourage you, especially with Valentine's Day right around the corner, to use this time to do something that is truly romantic and protect you and your loved ones so that if something did happen, you know that you'll be able to act for each other. If you'd like to hear other hot topics, please visit our YouTube page. You can even subscribe so you will be updated as soon as one is uploaded. You can also go to our Facebook page for other useful information and tips, as well as our website, and you can also sign up for newsletters. So until next time, remember, if you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you.